Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal channel. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal will be spending 200 million on 3 players this summer. And it has been said that Arteta is working with a huge budget at Arsenal this summer between 200 to 250 million. Obviously, if he sells well, Arsenal could even have an unprecedented summer, one that we've never seen before. But the big question for me is, if you are 200 million this summer, how would you spend it to make Arsenal better? In which areas would you spend it, and which players would you spend on? How many players would you sign for 200 million? Obviously, you have the likes of Alexander Isak. He's gonna cost about 150 million. So would you go for a gamble? Isak, 150 million, and maybe Martin Zubimendi. What would you do? But Arsenal are going 3 players for 200 million. So in this video, let's dive into who are these players. Is this the right decision? Are Arsenal really working with a big budget that is limited but quite unprecedented? Let's dive into all that. Now, according to reports, Arsenal will be spending 200 million on a star trio of Martin Zubimendi, Victor Gyokerez, and the one and only Nico Williams. Those are the 3 players that Arsenal are looking to concentrate on this summer, as we have done a lot of groundwork on the deals, and we believe all of the players are set to join Arsenal if nothing changes. Of course, with Nico Williams, things are a little bit difficult. Bilbao want more money, and that is why Arsenal could be spending up to 200 million on this deal. Now, let me know. We'll be diving into the prices of each and every player and maybe the deal. But would you sign Nico Williams for something like 70 million euros? Or is it too much of a deal for you? Let me know in the comment box below. Now, Arteta is not going to be working with an unlimited budget. What I mean is he's going to have a limited budget. It will have a ceiling, but it's going to be a broad budget. I mean, limited, I don't mean small. Limited, I mean, it is not forever. It is a budget that has got a cap, and that cap could come at around 250 million. Of course, he's a lucky guy. Arsenal in the days never used to spend about 200 to 250 million in one summer. If you remember Arsenal, we used to spend about 30 million in one summer, 40 million. And there was a time when Arsene Wenger spent about 100 million in one summer. That summer was unprecedented. And we all said, boy, oh boy, Arsenal are back and we are cooking. So Arteta having 250 million, obviously he's coming at a time when Arsenal need massive reinforcements in terms of numbers. I mean, you need around 7 signings. We did that video yesterday on the channel. Arsenal looking about 7 signings this summer, just because you want 2 goalkeepers, you want 2 midfielders, you want a centre back, and then probably 2 attackers or 3 attackers. Arsenal could end up with about 8 new signings this summer. That is, in itself is crazy. And you think about 8 new signings in this crazy market, you're talking about 250 to 350 million. Honestly, like, that is a whole squad revamp. It's a whole, squad overall. 8 players new in the squad. That is a little bit crazy. But of course, Arteta is coming in at a time when Arsenal is letting go of some players that we're not using, and then introducing players that Mikel Arteta will feel are going to be key to his project going into phase 5 and trying to win. So the trio that we're looking at, Gyokerez, Zubimendi, and Nico, are they worth 200 million euros? We've got to ask that question. For me, they are worth it. Victor Gyokerez is going to cost anywhere between 60 to 70 million euros. So if we register Victor Gyokerez as a 70 million euro player, that already takes you to almost like 30 million below the first 100 million. You're just left with 30 million to complete your first 100 million. And Victor Gyokerez, you think about him and you're like, that is a 70 million euro player. The goals, his prime, the salary is going to be earning, I think he's a 70 million euro player. If you want to go out there and get a striker that's going to bang in goals, if you're going to go out there and get a striker that is going to help you win, that is Victor Gyokerez. I bet that a couple of clubs right now or even next year are going to be looking to sign such a profile. He can score goals. He is ruthless in the box, but also in his prime. Martin Zubimendi is going to cost £50.2 million. That is about that could be about 65 million euros. So 65 million euros for Martin Zubimendi and 70 million euros for Victor Gyokerez. I still think that Gyokerez is worth 70, and I believe that Zubimendi is worth 65. I've told you on this channel before, and I'll say it again until he signs. Zubimendi is worth 90, 80, 70 million euros. Like, for Arsenal to get him at 65 million euros, which is 50.2 million pounds, it's a crazy deal. It's a very, very good deal. He's worth every inch of that money. And that takes us to 135 million euros. And then we arrive to Nico Williams. So Nico Williams, Arsenal could be looking to negotiate with Bilbao because Bilbao want more money. They don't want just the 45 million in the release clause of the player. They actually want more money. They want to sit down and negotiate with clubs and raise more money from the sale of their beloved player. So we are left with 65 million euros or about 70 million euros. I think Arsenal, the way Mikel Arteta likes Nico Williams, Arsenal will be willing to splash 70 million euros on Nico Williams. And is he worth it? Maybe that's where the question is. I think the only player that I have a little bit of doubt on, especially his worth, is Nico Williams. And I'm not saying he's not worth it. I'm just looking at him, I'm like, Zubimendi 65, makes sense. Gyokerez is 70, makes sense. But Nico Williams, 22, 165k per week, then 70 million euros, unproven. He's still, I think his best years are yet to come. I'm not yet there. Not yet there. But for a market opportunity deal, like 45, go and get him. If he's going to cost like 50 million euros, go and get him, right? But if it's going to stretch up to 70, 75 million euros, that's where I have my questions. Anyway, those other three players, Arsenal want to spend 200 million on. Now, here is the problem. They are all Mikel Arteta priorities. How? Victor Gyokerez obviously is not the priority for Mikel. Mikel wants Alexander Isak as his priority. But Mikel, you do not have 150 million to splash on Isak. And even if Isak was just 100 million, do Arsenal have 100 million to splash on Alexander Isak this summer? Possibly not. You know, when we signed Declan Rice, there is something that people don't realize. We signed Declan Rice for 100 million. It was a good deal. Well, but we also signed Kai Havertz in the same summer for around 65 million pounds. And this is the catch. Arsenal could have decided not to sign Kai Havertz. Arsenal could have decided to sign a player like one attacking midfielder like Julian Brandt, 30 million. And he would have worked out very well and maybe would have done a much better job than Kai Havertz, right? What I mean is that when we signed Declan Rice, we weren't in dire need of many signings. Right now, we need good signings, we need effective signings, but we also need numbers. We need options. So Mikel has always talked about effectiveness in the penalty area and doing some things that take us to the next level in the opposition penalty area. And that is why Victor Gyokerez is a key target for Arsenal. He's one of those players that are not wanted by name, but he's wanted by profile. Mikel dreams of having a player that is so effective. We create two chances, and one of the chances is buried. This season, Arsenal have dropped in terms of the goals that we expect to score. If we score all our expected chances till the end of the campaign, we might just score 70 goals this campaign. That is very, very low compared to the 91 goals we scored last campaign. And that tells you everything you need to know when Mikel says, I need effectiveness in the penalty area of the opposition. Then Martin Zubimendi is a Mikel Arteta priority by name and by profile. He's a player that he likes, and his profile fits what Arsenal are trying to do, but Mikel loves Martin Zubimendi. He's talked to him personally. Nico Williams, what can I say? The David Ornsteins of this world, Fabrizio Romanos, have already told you Mikel likes Nico Williams, and if a deal can be done, he will go ahead and do it. Now, let's talk about the summer. Because Arsenal are looking at about 8 incomings, right? But we are not going to have 400 million this summer. We're not going to spend 400 million. I don't think Arsenal are at that level. We spend 400 million. And I think 300 million could actually be a stretch. You know, we're going to do a video about how much Arsenal can spend actually this summer. But I think it should be between 200 to 250. Now, here is the problem. If you spend 200 million on 3 players, that already means that you've spent almost like 80% or 70% of the summer budget on 3 players. We don't have a problem with that. They're Mikel Arteta priorities. But what about the rest of the players? What about the rest of the positions that the team is lacking? We know that Zinchenko, Kerensiani, and a couple of other players that have been covering at the left will be leaving. And we know that we need at least 2 goalkeepers this summer. At least one at the world-class level of David Raya, maybe a backup, and then maybe a third choice goalkeeper, right? And then you think about an attacking midfielder, one that we've not even talked about. And those ones don't come cheap. You think about Adagula, 40 million. You think about Javi Simons, 60 million. You think about anyone you think about, they don't come cheap. The likes of Alex Molero could cost you around 25 to 35 million, but that is still good money. So if we spend 200 million on 3 players, yes, they're good, yes, they're priorities. Does that leave us in a bad situation when it comes to the rest of the signings? I kind of feel like, yeah, it does. But I don't have a problem with that because the quality that Nico, Zubi, and Gyokerez bring in, it raises Arsenal standards by far. We can compromise on the other positions. The only position that I think Arsenal shouldn't think about compromising on is another attacking midfielder. It will come back to bite us. Go out there, get a very good attacking midfielder. We have seen the Martin Odegaard injury. We have seen the Martin Odegaard lack of form. We have seen the Martin Odegaard, bad phase. You want someone that can help you through that time, right? And when I say we need to compromise, or we could compromise, I'm thinking, could we do loan deals, cheap deals, and free deals? A loan deal right now might be one for Adagula. Maybe Madrid don't want to sell, or maybe Arsenal don't have the money to buy him right now, but the player wants more game time. So we bring in Adagula on loan, it makes sense. And then you have the cheap deals like Sevilla Naipan. 15 million euros. Yes, he's young, but he's not coming in to start every single game. He's coming in to be the understudy to Martin Odegaard. And that tells you everything you need to know about squad planning. Not every signing you're going to make is going to be 24, 25, 26 or 30, 40, 50 million. Some of the players you're going to sign, right, are going to be 15 million and they're going to come in and do wonders. Clear example, Sami Nasri. This guy came in at Arsenal at around 8 million or 9 million, and he became one of the best midfielders in the Premier League and in Europe during his time as well. So Sevilla Naipan could come in for 15 million in attacking midfield, and Arsenal could still solve that problem. Oh, Leroy Sané for free. Yeah. I mean, he's worked with Mikel. Mikel understands him. He knows him. I think for me, it would even make much more sense to bring in a player like Leroy Sané. He's very close to Phil Foden in terms of the skill set. That's what we're looking for. He's better in terms of experience and age. He's a winner. The deal makes a lot of sense. So yes, 200 million on those 3 players can happen, and it makes sense if Arsenal are willing to compromise on other activities in the other areas of the pitch. Now, apart from compromising, in attacking midfield, we could compromise on the second striker, maybe a player like Jonathan David. We could compromise at the back. So Arsenal looking at Dean Huyson, 50 million. We are also looking at Jura Hato, possibly 40, 45 or 50 million. We are also looking at, the likes of Gehi, 70, 80 million. And that's a lot of money. What if Arsenal could actually compromise in defense? What do I mean? What if Jakub Kiwior could actually stay instead of leave? Or one of Zinchenko and Kerensiani gets a new deal, he stays, and he doesn't leave. That means that Arsenal don't have to go out there to spend a lot of money on the centre-back positions or left-back position. And with Lewis Skelly, Ricardo Calafiori, Zinchenko Okerentian is staying, you have Tomiyasu coming back, and Julian Timber can play there too. You've compromised, but you've got the creme de la creme in Zubimendi, Nico, and Gyokerez, but then you've compromised these other areas. You've not necessarily made them worse or bad. You've just compromised, and then maybe you're waiting for next summer to spend good money on them. Now, I know a few people are going to be saying, listen, Kasi, why are we spending 200 million on these guys? That is big talent, and big talent costs big money. I'm not going to lie to you. They're not all we need, right? There's so many other players and other positions that we need, right? But these big phases that Mikel Arteta is arriving into, the phases where you need a good striker, the phases where you need a good DM, they cost money. Think about Real Madrid for a second. We played them, and we're playing them again on Wednesday. Let's think about the players they have in that squad. Jude Bellingham, 100 million. Fede Valverde, yes, he was got from early scouting in Uruguay, I think Uruguay, but expensive. And then Aurelien Tchouameni, expensive. Eduardo Camavinga, he was a market opportunity, to be honest, Eduardo Camavinga, but he's an expensive player. And then you think about the likes of Thibaut Courtois. So if you want to build an expensive squad, you're going to spend some good money. That is the truth. And for me, I'm going to say, if we can do it, let's do it and raise Arsenal standards through the roof. Speak to you right in the next one. Hit the like button.